Hello, California, and welcome to this week's edition of Your Financial Compass, the show that helps you successfully navigate to and through your retirement. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio are two financial advisors from Bulman Wealth Group. We have Scott Vlahon and Shawn McElmoyl. We've got a great show for you today. We are going to be sharing with you why taxes matter so much more in retirement. Usually when folks think of retirement, they are focused on how much money they have saved up and accumulated over their lifetime. But did you know that one of the biggest detriments to that wealth could be taxes in your retirement? So we're going to unpack that for you today, and then most importantly, provide you with some strategies so that you can be minimizing that tax burden for yourself. Scott, Shawn, I know this is a topic all three of us are very passionate about. You talk about this day in and day out with folks. Excited to have this conversation with you.
Well, Shawn's one of the few people that loves paying taxes. Can you explain that?
I want to pay as much as I possibly can.
Because it's a good problem to have, but here's the problem. People are paying more than they need to pay.
Yeah.
That's the issue, right?
Yeah. People just want to pay, they understand, they want to just pay their fair share. But
correct.
I have to tell you, taxes is probably the topic that brings people to us.
More than anything else?
Very close. I mean, it's investment, performance, income.
Right.
The taxes are ranks really high up there. And so we know it's really important and it's on people's minds.
Yep. So let's really help our viewers understand, as we start off today's conversation, why is it so necessary and crucial to pay attention specifically to your tax bill in retirement?
I think a big part of it is because we've been paying tax, say in our working years, obviously we're paying taxes on our income, but it's just so automatic.
Right.
Well, imagine we fast forward to retirement and we're starting to pull income from investment accounts. Well, every different investment account outside of a Roth IRA does have tax parameters we need to be aware of. And when we're not used to that, it just is another thing that could slip our minds. So say we're pulling money from an IRA or a 401k, money that's never been taxed. Well, surprise, every dime of it's taxed. Are you withholding taxes when you take a distribution? Because if you don't, the next year you're going to get a 1099 form from the financial company. And guess what? You owe an extra 15 grand in taxes you didn't pay. So just getting used to the cadence of paying yourself, but being mindful that in most instances outside of a Roth IRA, like we said, those distributions have a tax ramification to them, and understanding how each different account has a different tax ramification and which account should we be pulling from first and in what order, because believe it or not, that can have a big effect in a positive way if we do it in a proper sequence.
Yes. What you're alluding to and explaining is strategic tax planning, which is a huge value that you provide for the folks that choose to work with you and the team of Bulman Wealth Group. I'm curious because a lot of times you said taxes are what is driving people to come meet with you, right? They know that they hear us talk about it on the show. They know that you engage in strategic tax planning and they're going, help, I want to figure out how to pay less to the IRS, right? What are some of the most common mistakes that you see folks are making when it comes to taxes, specifically in retirement?
Well, the first one is assuming you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. I mean, that was kind of the story we were told so long ago when IRAs and 401ks were first created, that save this money, don't pay taxes on it now, because when you retire, you'll probably be in a lower tax bracket and therefore pay a less amount in taxes. But what we're finding now is that their retirement assets have grown so much, they've become so large, their largest financial asset in many cases, that especially when they have to start taking their required minimum distributions, that amount each year that they're required to take is such a large amount, it pushes them into a much higher tax bracket. In some cases, a higher tax bracket than when they were working.
Yep.
That's number one. Number two is not really understanding how your RMDs, your required minimum distributions, Social Security, and any other outside income that you may have, investment income, how they all fit together and are taxed in different ways. And if you're not really aware of how taxes affect those different income streams, you can end up paying more in taxes. There's a couple of other areas, inherited IRAs. For our clients out there who inherited an IRA, that can be very confusing. If their parents were taking required minimum distributions, not really understanding what the requirements are for themselves, and there's a lot of IRS tax penalties out there that they could
be subject to.
Subject to. So and doing Roth conversions, which we'll talk more about, but doing them without considering the timing and the amount can push people into a higher tax bracket where they pay more taxes than they have to.
Right. You mentioned inherited IRAs, and I think it's always important to stress the recent change that happened with the elimination of the stretch IRA provision, because it used to be that if you inherited an IRA as a non-spouse beneficiary, that you had the rest of your life, right, to handle that money. Well, now the rule has changed. You only have 10 years to liquidate that entire account and pay the taxes on it. That can really decimate someone, who's maybe in their highest earning years when they're inheriting that kind of wealth. So it can trickle on down is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
And what we're finding is that a lot of people, just because it's confusing, they're just not even doing it.
Exactly.
And it can, again, the IRS, the tax penalty can be pretty stiff there.
So how do you all stay on top of this and be proactive for the folks that work with you and the team of Bulman Wealth Group? How do you help someone prepare in advance so that they aren't caught off guard by unexpected taxes in retirement?
Well, a big part of it is the word that you just said in your phrase is proactive. There's really two ways to look at taxes, proactive or reactive. Reactive is what we're used to. We go to the CPA, throw our statements down, and then we hope for the best. They call us in 2 weeks. Well, you owe extra or you're getting money back. Well, yay. Well, I'd rather be proactive, and I think most of us would assume that tax rates over time are going to go up. So knowing that, say 5 years, 10 years down the road, when we're pulling money from these accounts, and if tax rates go up, and as Shawn said earlier, these accounts have grown, and it goes in conjunction with other income, our tax burden could be even more. So as we start to build out plans for folks looking out 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, we can see where those potential tax bombs might kick off, and it might be at age 73 or 75 when your RMDs start, depending on when you're going to be starting them. And if that is the case, and we can see that on paper and say, hey, if we don't do anything different between now and when your RMDs start, look how your taxable burden jumped by $30,000 in 1 year to the next. It's an eye-opening thing, but I'd rather find that out 10 years ahead of time, 5 years ahead of time, so we can start planning and saying, hey, we're going to start doing Roth conversions, or maybe we're still working, we've got 5 years left. Why don't we stop putting money into a traditional 401k, put it all into a Roth 401k, and then that way there's a reason we're doing it, and we're getting out ahead of the problem as opposed to finding out after the fact. We've already started RMDs, like, gosh, taxes stink, how do I change it? Well, if you're already at that point, it's probably too late. So it's just looking forward and then doing something about it.
Right. What would you say to someone who's watching right now and going, this is bringing up some new stuff I haven't thought of before, or I never thought about it this way, that I need to look ahead to look at reducing my tax bill? Maybe you're haven't been aware previously that there are things that can be done to do that. What would your encouragement be to that person?
I think a lot of it is about control. What can we control? We cannot control the tax rates that the Fed set up for us. So if that is something out of our hands, what is within our hands? Well, it is, as we said, and Kristen just mentioned, planning ahead of time. So if you're concerned about taxes going up, or concerned about where they're at now, or concerned about how you might be affected by it, I would call the number below and we can set up a conversation. We call it our complimentary financial compass review. Maybe taxes aren't a concern, and concern is market risk or running out of money, or who you're leaving the money to, or I don't have an estate plan. All of those elements fall under the guise of our financial compass. So we start with a conversation, find out where you're at, what the concerns are, then we can find out how we might potentially be able to address them and take it from there.
Wonderful. Scott, Shawn, thank you so much. I know we've got a lot more to get to, but if this is resonating with you, or if you're already working with another financial professional and they are not having these kinds of conversations with you, you owe it to yourself to get a second opinion. And you can't get a second opinion from the same person who gave you the first. So the team of Bulman Wealth Group would love to be able to provide that second opinion for you, completely complimentary, in the form of your very own complimentary financial compass review. To claim yours, simply call 888-970-4685. Or if you'd rather connect online, simply scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. Stay with us. When we come back, we're going to be walking through some of the proven tax-efficient strategies designed to help you minimize your tax burden so that you can keep more of your hard-earned wealth. Stay with us.
When markets are up, risk feels great. When they're down, it feels terrifying. That's why understanding your risk tolerance before the next swing is so important. Our risk quiz is a quick, easy way to find out if your portfolio truly fits your comfort level and your retirement goals. Most people have no idea how much risk they're actually taking until it's too late. Are you more conservative than your portfolio or taking on too little risk to grow your savings? The quiz walks you through a few simple questions and gives you a risk score you can compare with your current investments. It's one of the smartest steps you can take to bring clarity and confidence to your retirement strategy. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit bwgriskquiz.com and take the free risk quiz today.
You know how much you've saved for retirement. Do you know how much of it Uncle Sam will take? Required minimum distributions, Medicare surcharges, and Social Security taxation could all chip away at your income. A Roth conversion may help reduce future surprises, but only if it fits your situation. Want to know your true tax exposure? The better you understand your risks, the more options you have. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit BulmanRothQuiz.com to take our free Roth conversion quiz today.
Welcome back to Your Financial Compass. I'm Kristen Oakley here with both Scott and Shawn from Bulman Wealth Group, and we are so glad that you're joining us today. If you're just tuning in, we have been talking about why taxes matter so much in retirement. Here's the reality. Paying taxes is unavoidable, but paying too much in tax is completely avoidable. And that's what we want to help empower you to know and to do, is to help you pay the least amount in taxes that you are legally required to pay. And there's a lot of strategies that help folks do that. This is a lot of what you spend your time doing for the folks that you work with. Let's first start off, Shawn, with some of the key tax strategies that retirees can utilize in order to help them reduce the amount that they owe and keep more of their hard-earned money.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of tools that we have in our toolbox to help do that, but there's two that stick out that come to mind right away. The first is Roth conversions, and that's where we're able to take money out of a traditional IRA or traditional 401k that's considered tax-deferred. You've never paid taxes on that money. You can move the money from a tax-deferred IRA to a tax-free Roth IRA. That's called a Roth IRA conversion. You have to pay the taxes, though, on it now, today, but going forward, you have tax-free growth for your entire lifetime. And we'll talk more about how your heirs can benefit from that as well. The other opportunity is thinking carefully about from which accounts do you draw money from first. It's a coordination of withdrawal strategy. Let's say most people have a joint account with their spouse. They may have a trust account. They may have a tax-deferred IRA or a 401k, and they may have a Roth IRA. If they're doing their work right, they've got all three types of accounts. And let's say you need to draw $30,000 a year to fill that income gap you have between Social Security and other sources of income to have the retirement you want. Well, the question is, from which accounts should you draw from first? And that's a big question. And we're not going to give you the answer because we want you to come and talk to us about it, because we want to understand your complete situation. But what we're sharing with you, it makes a big difference. If you make a mistake and draw money from the wrong accounts first, it can put you in a situation where you pay more in taxes than you need to.
And it always breaks my heart when I hear stories of that happening, because we all know that it's avoidable, right? If you get in front of it, if you have the right plan, the right tax efficient plan, the right withdrawal strategy. I mean, this is why you can't afford to look at any one piece of your financial life in isolation from each other. And I think taxes do a great job of illustrating why, right? I know we're not going to give folks the answer because they would have to come in and meet with you in order for you to do your due diligence, give them the right answer for them, right? But we are going to give you access to this awesome resource that's completely free for you that will help raise awareness of where you stand and what your potential tax bill might be in retirement. So we're going to put this site for you here on the bottom of your screen. We call this the tax bill calculator. You can access it by going to bulmantaxbill.com or by clicking on that QR code. Scott, help our viewers understand what they're going to glean from utilizing this resource and why this information is so valuable for them.
Yeah, so I'll warn you ahead of time, it'll be shocking, or arguably shocking, so compliance doesn't get mad. So you can go to that website below and you enter basic information about yourself. We're not going to go sell it or anything. This is just for your own sake. You enter your information, how much your age, how much you might have in a traditional IRA, traditional 401k, and it'll show under the current tax law and current tax percentages what you might owe in taxes over your lifetime. Then it'll show you another number if you do a Roth conversion, how much more you might save over your lifetime in taxes. And you might drop your laptop, you might spill coffee on your computer when you see it, but it is a very sobering amount. So very rarely are we going to convert all the money at once, so just a heads up. There is some nuance to it, but it just really becomes the catalyst of, okay, if I don't do anything differently, I'm going to owe a lot extra in taxes more than likely. What can I do? And that really prompts the question, okay, maybe I should call these folks and see, what can I do? What does this mean? What does this mean for me? What if taxes go up? And we begin to have that conversation. And there's always going to be changes. Just recently, a few months ago, this bill was passed by the current regime, so to speak. And there are extra deductions when it comes to taxation for people 65 and older. For married couples 65 and older, there was an extra, I think, approximately $17,000 in standard deductions that they'll get for the next 4 years. So this might go back to what Shawn was saying. This might promote Roth conversions. Like, I have extra wiggle room to work with. What better time than now to start looking into those things? So we know it's going to change again once this bill's done, but it all can start by going to this website, enter your information, and if you want to talk further about it, and we're going to email you a breakdown of everything.
Right,
what
you're
it
going to
means.
get that complimentary
Yes,
4-page report,
yes, you get
right?
a 4-page report, so
Yep.
it's not just numbers, it's some context to it. Then we set up a time to talk, to have further context to it. And it's like, okay, but now how do I do this? And this is how we can begin talking and show you how.
Right, and I love this resource because I know you've had folks go to the site, get their complimentary report, and next thing you know, they're coming in and they're holding it going, please help me figure out, how do I not have to settle for what the government's tax plan is for me if I do nothing, versus showing me how much less I could pay in tax if I enact some of these tax saving strategies.
Quick example, a 60-year-old, they entered their information recently, they had $250,000 in an IRA right now, traditional IRA. And under the current structure, if they didn't make any changes over their lifetime, they'd pay over $400,000 in taxes.
Wow.
However, if they made a change now, did a Roth conversion, they'd pay just over $62,000 in taxes. So I can imagine their eyes popped out of their head. So if you want to do it just for fun, it won't be that fun when you see how much you might owe if you don't do anything differently. Enter that information, and we hope that leads you saying, I think I need to talk further with these people to see what this means for me and how I might be able to get out ahead of it.
Yeah, it's scary, I would say that, but what's fun is knowing I don't have to settle for this. There is hope, there is a solution,
100%.
and this is what you love to provide. I'm also curious about the timing, how timing makes a difference with tax planning, because there's a few key windows, right? Talk about the age range or when it's most ideal for someone to really start tackling this.
Well, certainly before you start taking your required minimum distributions is an important time to consider a Roth conversion. You can still do a Roth conversion after you're taking required minimum distributions, but you're required to first take the required amount out first. You're going to be taxed on that. And then anything in addition that you want to convert, move into a Roth IRA, you'll be taxed on that. So big benefit, big incentive to start doing some Roth conversions before required minimum distributions. But there's also things that we can do to think about your heirs. How do we put your loved ones in a position where they're not paying as much in taxes? So even if you're over 73, you're taking required minimum distributions, it still may make sense to do some Roth conversions if you know the money's ultimately going to go to your heirs. It's much better for your children to inherit a Roth IRA where they have 10 years before they get the money and never pay taxes on that during that 10-year period. Or if they conversely inherit a traditional IRA, they're going to have to pay taxes on that within a 10-year period, which could put your children in a higher tax bracket, causing them to pay more in taxes than they have to.
And they'll be mad at you.
Well, again, what you don't know can hurt you, right?
Correct.
And I think sometimes I've heard older folks say, well, I'm not really concerned about this for myself. I'm planning to leave it all to my kids. But what they don't understand is instead of passing on a gift, they are passing on not just a ticking tax time bomb with the account itself that they are leaving to them, but they are jeopardizing their own heirs, let's say, who are in those higher tax brackets already, and now they're going to have to deal with an even bigger tax problem. So there is that trickle down effect. And I know that you help work with a lot of families to help coordinate all this. What would your encouragement be to someone who's watching who is thinking, okay, yeah, I've gone to Bulman Tax Bill, I'm looking at these two numbers and I'm going, holy cow, how can this be? I mean, that example you shared too, right? It was a $250,000 traditional IRA. They were looking at potentially having to pay over $400,000.
What if that was $1 million?
Right.
Holy cow.
Exactly. So what do you want to leave as we wrap up this segment? What do you want to leave
Well,
our
I would say
viewers with?
first go to the Bulman Tax Bill, fill out the information, then you can call a number or reach out through our website to set up conversation. Be like, okay, I've learned all I want to know from this. Now what's next? What does this mean for me? And we can have a conversation. We call it our complimentary financial compass review. Maybe it's about taxes or risk with our investments. Maybe it's about running out of income. Here's a number here. Maybe it's about I don't have a trust, or maybe it's about all of these different things. Things are so much more expensive now. I don't want to run out of money. We can have that conversation because we've walked a lot of folks through this and we've probably heard your question before. There's very few unique situations left, but it all starts with a conversation. And you can call that number below and we can start to have it.
Wonderful. Scott, Shawn, thank you so much. That number to call is 888-970-4685. Or again, you're welcome to scan that QR code. That will get you connected as well. When we come back, we're going to continue discussing the benefits of unlocking the opportunities that come with strategic tax planning. Stay with us.
After college, I spent 8 years active duty as an Army officer, as a captain in the Army. And I was really driven by this idea of service and serving something bigger than myself. And when I got out of the military, it was an easy transition to financial services as a financial advisor. There was a firm that was looking for military officers who had just gotten out. They had done a study, and the people that served in the military tended to do well in financial services. And once I got into it, I just really fell in love with not only working with clients, but building portfolios, the strategic part. Just like in the military, a military operation, you're here today and later you want to get to this destination. How are you going to get there safely? Planning all the logistics, the danger areas, planning around those. They just related to each other in a way that just made sense for me. And this feeling of serving clients, serving others that's bigger than myself became kind of my calling, just as serving in the military was my calling.
Welcome back to Your Financial Compass, where today we've been having an in-depth conversation on why taxes matter so much for your retirement. Of course, we've stressed the importance of wanting to reduce your potential tax bill. And again, if you've not yet utilized this free resource that we have for you, we encourage you to visit this site, bulmantaxbill.com. You can input that URL or click that QR code. It's going to ask you for some very basic information, and within a matter of minutes, you're going to receive a complimentary 4-page report showing you what your potential tax bill might be throughout the rest of your life. But we don't just leave you there. We also show you how you can reduce that tax bill. And while that's valuable, what we want to talk about in this segment is the opportunities that engaging in strategic tax planning can provide for you. It's so much more than just reducing how much you pay to the IRS. You really get to unlock some exciting opportunities. So Shawn, what's at the top of that list?
Well, one area that's often either overlooked or not, people aren't aware of it, it's called qualified charitable distributions, QCD. And this becomes really an important technique or tool for our viewers who have charitable intentions. During the course of the year, there are charities or causes that they want to support. And if they're already writing checks to those institutions, there's a way they can do it through their IRAs that can actually reduce their taxable income. And so if you're over 70 and a half, and during the course of the year, you're making charitable contributions, you have an opportunity to make those contributions directly from your IRA, your tax-deferred IRA account. And that way it's not counted as taxable income, and your charities benefit by getting the support you're always giving them. And you can contribute up to $108,000 per person in the household, and that needs to be done by December 31st of each year. Now, if you're over 73 and you're taking required minimum distributions already, doing qualified charitable distributions can count towards your RMD and further reduce the taxable income that you're going to have to report each year.
If you're watching this, rewind that and play that again, because most folks don't know about it. It is so powerful.
Yes, and it's a win-win. It's a win-win for you as the person making the donation. You lower your tax burden. It's a win-win for the charity. They get the full amount.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So,
and you know, if we zoom out for a second, when it comes to tax planning, think of it like this. It's all about the money you get to keep. And if we can pay less in taxes and be mindful about it and be efficient about it, $1 saved in taxes is another dollar to give to charities, another dollar to give to kids, another dollar to go on a trip or fund your hobbies or buy that guitar you want or buy the RV, all those different things. By being mindful about it and aware of the tools to utilize, it just opens up so many doors because we're keeping more money, and over time, it might seem like small installments, but over time, like you'll see in that tax calculator, it can really add up. And again, I'd rather have more money in my pocket. I'm sure everyone watching would feel the same.
Exactly right. Well, Scott, Shawn, thank you so much. I'm excited for more folks to connect with you as a result of today's important conversation. We say this a lot on the show. How you make a decision in one area of your financial life can and will affect all the others. How can you create greater tax efficiency throughout your full financial plan? We invite you to find out by scheduling your very own complimentary financial compass review. 888-970-4685 is the number to call to schedule yours. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time here on Your Financial Compass.